Greetings, family. This is Cassandra Faye Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. If you are joining me today, as you have been for a few days, then you know that this is going to be the last installment on the discussion that we've been having about the mysteries of menstrual blood. And I'm gonna tell you, um, I'm tired and I'm sleepy, and this is me attempting to be disciplined to keep my commitment to start doing daily videos. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm struggling right now. I started my cycle yesterday, not an hour after I did the um, the live, and I just started laughing. I was like, "Well, isn't this funny?" And so the first day, I'm always tired, wore out, and that is today. Um, but anyway, we will persevere. I'm tell you, yesterday's discussion had me re-listening to the um, the reading of the Great Cosmic Mother, rediscovering the religions of the earth. And while I am not going to read at length from this book, I wanted to talk about the taboos mentioned in this book around the menstrual blood and how every blood, according to this book, every blood ritual from around the world involving males has its origin in the attempting by males to reproduce the mysteries of uh, the of menstrual blood rights and birth blood rights. And I do want to read where she says that no, oh, here it is, right here. I turned right to it. Okay. Here it is, right here. I'm gonna read this to you because re-listening to it, it's well marked up. But every time I re-listen to it, I'm like, ah, yes, yes, yes. In the early small, now this beginning I'm reading to you because it's talking about functionally what matriarchal societies did, and what it talked about is in matriarchal matrilineal societies, the women the women in the clans would seek relationships with men outside their clans. So, of course, you didn't marry too closely, you didn't reproduce too closely to your kinship. But those men, those external men, I'm just going to read it to you. The early small kinship group structures, the custom of examy had led women to take mates from outside the mother clan, so that childbearing women were always the cohesive group within the community. Their mates tended to be visitors or blood strangers, meaning outside the kin clan, blood strangers to the matrifocal group. Among the matriarchal Hopi, where the women propose marriage to the men, the husband moves into the woman's home, which she inherits from her mother. But he spends most of his time at his mama house, where he is blood related. So he go back home to mama, where he blood related, because he an outsider, right? Married into the clan. The same customs were found throughout pre-colonial Africa and no doubt existed among all the European pagan ancestors. To gain some cohesion and sense of listen, to gain some cohesion and sense of participation in the mother clan group through which he has just entered through marriage. It's the outside males bonded together in their own rituals in which they imitated the female processes. Y'all rocking with me? It's important to mention the matriarchal clan groups, how matriarchy looked in the functional day to day. How do you keep from marrying too close to your blood relatives? You would marry strangers outside the matrilineal group, the matrifocal group. But these men, so that they did not feel isolated from the group through which they married into, would create their own rituals to imitate the female processes. They wouldn't imitate men. They was imitating the magical rituals of women, of which are two: monthly menstrual blood bleeding and the blood that is involved in childbearing. So to gain some cohesion, the ancestral males would do the imitated female process. As Bruno Bettelheim writes in Symbolic Wounds, it is probable that all men's initiation rites were originally based on the men's desire to imitate, participate in women's menstruation and childbirthing rites, which were overwhelmingly magical events. Magic because of their periodicity, as well as their blood power. Australian Aboriginal males cut wounds into their penises, inserting stones to keep the wound permanently open. This rite imitates female bleeding. The wound is called in their native language a vagina. During this rite, young men pass through the legs of older men, being reborn from the male womb. Nowhere on earth can we find any rites or mysteries in which women have tried to imitate a male process or function. This alone tells us about the source of original mana or power. All blood rituals derive from the female blood of menstruation and childbirth. Shh. Listen, this is why in the Bible, Jehovah's covenant with Abraham was ritually sealed with the lifeblood of Abraham. And this covenant is kept by circumcising the foreskin of every Hebraic male infant. The Hebrews, like everyone else, were originally goddess worshiping people. And it was her magic blood that symbolically sealed all covenants. As the patriarchy solidified, let me just stop for a second. When I was re-listening to this morning, preparing for today, baby, I was beside myself. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I have been the participator in the devotee of Ifa now for 13 years, maybe, before making the announcement in November that I would no longer call myself a devotee. And I needed that experience. I love that tradition so much. But I also had to recognize the moment when it was time for me to evolve. And I'm reading this again for the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th time about how every single solitary male right on earth, everywhere, in every tradition, has its origin in the imitation of the power perceived in the original blood rituals and blood mysteries, which is menstruation and childbirth. Everyone, everywhere. So I'm thinking about Ifa, you feel me? And how practitioners of Ifa will be so quick to talk about, the power of the goddess, the female Orisha in the tradition. How the tradition was originally a matriarchal tradition. You feel me? How the Iami are the definers of the quality of life on this planet, is what they say. You feel me? How the Babalawo sitting on the mat with the divining oracle between his legs is an imitation of the creative process of childbirth. Here it say right here, they all imitate what women, let me keep reading, what women do naturally, and still in that process attempt to demote what women do naturally. It say here, the Hebrews started circumcision as a direct replica, an imitation of the monthly bleeding of their women, as a remnant of them formerly being goddess worshiping people, this newly emerging patriarchal consciousness gripping a hold of every Y-bearing chromosome motherfucker on the planet at the same time. Because it was her magic blood prior to the patriarchy that symbolically sealed all covenants. As the patriarchy solidified its power, however, many of the blood ritual imitations of women's functions were turned into taboos against women's functions. So initially, when men had symbolic wombs to imitate the mothers and daughters and wives of the clan, to be able to participate symbolically in the magical blood rituals of women, not antagonistically, they did these rituals in unison with, in harmony with. They wanted to be a part of the mysteries and the magic of their mothers, of their daughters, their sisters, their wives, right? But it is only after the patriarchy solidified its power that many of those blood ritual imitations of women's functions were turned into taboos against women themselves. Taboos of avoidance and hygiene, right? As the biblical Old Testament illustrates, patriarchal society places heavy taboos and penalties of shame on menstruation and on women during and after childbirth. Such taboos were originally restrictions made by women. And let me tell you, I see this so much. And I used to be so fickle and so timid about addressing them as to not offend the sensibilities of my native brethren and sistren in their traditions, the traditions that they uphold. But native people are not what's the word I'm looking for? Native people are not and y'all, I'm gonna tell you, y'all gonna catch me doing that a lot. I've been trying so hard to regain my mental quickness. I had COVID 2 years ago, and my cognition has not been the same since. I've been overdosing on freaking omega-3s, vitamin D, and multis, and it's just changed. And I'm still working, medically trying to regain the gravity of my quickness. But anyway, what is the word I'm looking for? It's right there on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, Native people have the same issues. They're colonized people, and white male patriarchal colonization infected and affected the traditions, primarily the matriarchal, matrilineal, matrifocal traditions of indigenous people throughout the Americas, no different than it did everyone else. So here, when she says that that the patriarchal placement of heavy taboos of penalty and shame on menstruation and on women during and after childbirth, these taboos originated as self-imposed restrictions that women groups made. The menstrual hut had nothing to do with men and quote keeping people safe from menstruating women, as some native communities will tell you. I done been to native events in this freaking city, and I don't say nothing because that's y'all culture. Who am I to be imposing on y'all cultural beliefs or whatever? Where I will go to an event and I will volunteer for the moon tent, and there'll be caution tape, like the police got caution tape around the perimeter, denoting where menstruating women cannot go because they run the risk of making everybody sick. And then they try to dress and cute the shit up by saying, well, you know, you're in your own ceremony, and so you're really powerful, and so we have to keep you away from everybody else because you'll make us sick with the power of your menstruation. That is man-imposed shit. That is patriarchal imposed shit to denounce and create a revile against the natural magical processes, cyclic processes of women's blood magic and blood mysteries. So here it says women were the ones that created the restrictions of the menstrual hut customs to protect their bodies and to guarantee their sacred solitude during the moon functions. Their separateness from men and children was not to protect men and children, was to make men take care of children so that they could have some solitude to be with the moon. That's what it was for. They had nothing to do with y'all. But now you will hear, baby, I was at the ceremony once, and the first day, like 13, 14 people got food poisoning because the food sat outside too long. The rest of the event, the rest of the weekend, they was talking about it must have been somebody from the moon tent who crossed the perimeter they wasn't supposed to cross. That all weekend. That's all they talk about is what menstruating bitch crossed the perimeter she wasn't supposed to that made everybody sick. No, not that. That it was in the middle of the goddamn heat wave in this bitch, and the food stayed out too long before it was served, and some people got food poisoning. I mean, extreme food poisoning. People carried off in ambulances and shit. No, but the rest of the weekend, everybody looked with the evil eye at the moon tent, at the moon lodge, at the 4 menstruating bitches who possibly made everybody sick. Yeah, that's why I said that was the last year I was ever gonna do that. I was ever gonna do that. I'm not volunteering it. Because we cannot keep quiet when we see these kind of stories perpetuated, and we stay tied to them under the guise of tradition, when the tradition is not the most ancient expression of the tradition. It is the patriarchal expression and bastardization of goddess worshiping traditions. That's what it is. That's what we're looking at. Whether it's in Ifa, whether it is in Atan, whether it is in Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Native culture, North American, South American, Central, it don't matter. Any place on earth that views with revile, judgment, criticism, shame, despair, the natural biological processes of the female species, human beings, female humans, that menstruate and have children, you are involved in a patriarchal tradition. And if that patriarchal tradition still holds up hints of when the women ran some shit, they use that as a pacification or a justification for that which should not be justified, it's still butt naked patriarchy. That's what it is. Women cannot go into the lodge. Women cannot receive the healing. Women have to be separated from the group. Women cannot cook your food. Women cannot do X, Y, Z. Can't be X, Y, Z. Can't go into the temple. Can't go to pray. Can't do shit because of the, especially if they're. I had a woman tell me she was a Hebrew Israelite. This was years and years and years ago, maybe 15 years ago. But I was doing locks. I was maintaining dreads. I was styling and maintaining dreads for my primary source of income. And she was a first-time client. She came to me and she was like, I want to ask you, or I want to make a request. She's like, you know, I like the way you do my hair. I like the way you do hair. I'm going to come to you regular. But I want you to promise me that you will not do my hair while you are on your menstrual cycle, that you will call me and cancel if you need to, but when you start menstruating, you will not do my hair. I was like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want, but can you tell me why? I didn't know nothing about it. She was like, because your menstrual blood is like battery acid. And if you're on your menstrual cycle, when you're doing somebody's hair, you could burn their hair out like battery acid. I said, oh my God, child. Oh my God. So anyway, the separateness from men and children. That was their reprieve, child. That was their rest time. You got the babies. Y'all got it while we go up in here and commune with the mother moon. But as male power structures and religious reactions against the goddess rise, seeing the great mother more and more as the castrating other, the terrible devourer, these moon blood taboos are given negative connotations. Women during their menstrual periods and childbirth are defined as unclean and dangerous, especially threatening to social manhood in its co-opted assumptions of sacred wounds and higher powers gained through the second ritual birth via an elder male. Tell me that ain't the Babalawo sitting at the divining oracle between his legs while he sit in the birthing position on the damn floor. But you can't anyway. The female body, which actually does these things, becomes an embarrassing threat to the male's metaphorical assumption of the blood powers of menstruation and childbirth. They usurp it. No male priest can compete with what a woman does in these areas. So the menstruating woman is often totally excluded from group life, cast out into the bush or forest to fend for herself. She must be ritually cleansed before she can return to the tribe. Women in labor also must be secluded to protect men from contamination and must undergo periods of purification following childbirth. Among biblical Hebrews, a longer period following the birth of a daughter, of course, than a son. What was once seen among all original humans as sacred and magically powerful to the whole kin group tribe, becomes under male religion impure, filthy, dangerous, negative, and evil. The source of life, female, is redefined now and hated as the enemy of male life. What was once woman's power is now to be woman's curse, woman's shame, woman's estrangement from God. In the Bible, we can see how the original Aurelian newspeak occurring, in which false male imitations of menstruation and childbirth, the circumcision of foreskin, the wounds of Christ, because you remember way back in the beginning of the book where she talks about the wound from which from which water poured, where Jesus supposedly got stuck in the rib, you feel me, and water poured out. What did they call the wound of Jesus where he got the spear in the rib? They called it a vulva. In the Bible, they call it a vulva. In the scripture, they call it a vulva. That's his female wound. That's his replication of the female wound through which blood and water both come. Child. Anyway, so it says, The circumcision of foreskin, the wounds of Christ are made sacred and holy, while the real thing done by women is made filthy, sinful, and bestial. This terrible and unnatural split in the human psyche is still with us today, of course. Patriarchal religions are based on it. Under patriarchy, this split was projected everywhere into the cosmic spiritual realms, into human culture and customs, into scientific perception of the mental and psychological worlds. Under Bronze Age urban priesthoods, the terrible mother was worshipped more and more with painful rites and punitive exorcisms. She became, in fact, the debased flesh which must be flailed and disciplined into submission. A religious practice that served very well as the rationalization for mass exploitation of human flesh, of human slave labor by the growing urban states and their ruling elites. If human flesh and blood is nothing but, then by all means use it up. With the devaluation of the great mother's female bleeding came the debasement and the exploitation of human life itself. Women's menstrual blood has women's menstrual blood always was, always is the essence of the creative power of the great mother. Blood is the physical counterpart of the mystical life force spiraling throughout the cosmos, nourishing the universe, sustaining its breathing in and out, its manifestations and dissolutions. Ancient women withdrew during their menstrual periods to meditate, fast, pray, and communicate with her. Women living together in cooperative groups do begin to coordinate the time of their periods. Ancient women bled and meditated together under the bleeding and meditating moon. Even under the punitive taboos of patriarchy, women withdrew to their menstrual huts with some feeling of voluntary seclusion, a chance to get back in contact with their own nature for a few days each month, apart from the demands of children and men. In the women's mysteries, ancient and modern, Esther Harding suggests that one of the prime causes of neurosis, illness, depression, and pain suffered by many women in the modern cultures during our menstrual periods, the premenstrual syndrome, especially as it is known today, is that we now have no menstrual ceremony of any kind. Menstruation is just each woman's private affliction or annoyance. It has no positive value or function. Isn't it what we talked about yesterday? Has no function. Let's see. No value or function. We cannot withdraw into temporary and contemporary menstrual huts to listen to our bodies, minds, and needs, to establish contact with our cyclic and primal cosmic selves, to experience ourselves as sacred animals. And ironically, while being deprived of ritual solitude while we bleed, we are also isolated from the communion of other women who are bleeding. Each woman must go through each life stage, transition, and crises in silent aloneness, unsupported by either ritual or women's group. This combination of meaningless isolation and lack of ritual solitude is the final patriarchal taboo against women, a major cause of mental illness and a major barrier against self-realization. Thus was woman's ancient collective power broken. Women under patriarchy, isolated from each other and from themselves, could no longer threaten male dominance of life or question male co-optation and imitation of our original female processes. But some faint traces, let's see, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. There was something else I wanted to read, and then oh yes. Child. Let's see. It says, as we said in the first section, okay, the wise wound shows how human females' menstrual cycle was the critical evolutionary advance that initiated human society and culture. I cannot say this sentence enough. Human females' menstrual cycle was the trigger for human society and culture's evolution, period. As we said in the first section, the fact that the human female is freed from the estrous cycle of other primates means that in woman, sexuality is distinguishable from, separable from fertility. In woman alone, among all creatures on earth. This is not a spiritual statement I am making. This is a biological statement I am making. This is an anthropological statement that I am making. This is a scientific statement that I am making. It is not a judgment, it is what it is. In the human female alone, among all the creatures on the whole of the planet, including their sons, the human female alone, sexuality is distinguishable from, separable from fertility. In woman alone, among all the creatures on earth, this shifting of sexual hormonal action led to increased alertness in the brain and its electrical activity, i.e., women have sexual energy at our disposal separable from reproductive energy. For woman, biology is not destiny in the narrow sense of in the narrow reproductive sense. Even if patriarchy has tried through the dogmatic suppression of our autonomous sexuality to reverse this evolution. Patriarchal religion is, in this sense, a primate religion trying to pull the human female back from her evolutionary advance over other primates. For in this one aspect alone does human sexuality differ from all other primate sexuality. It is for this subliminal reason that all hardcore patriarchal fundamentalists oppose evolutionary theory so vehemently, because the Godhead of human evolution, its trigger, listen, the Godhead of human evolution, its trigger, its foundational energy source is and can only be female. The sole function of the clitoris is sexual pleasure and release. And it is the only organ in the human body devoted to pleasure alone. The penis carrying both reproductive semen and sexual response in every erotic act. This means that woman's sexual capacity is enormously enhanced and multiple. It is present in us from birth to death. Clitoral sensation being determined neither by puberty nor menopause. When freed, woman's autonomous sexual capacity is a great source of psychic, productive, creative, and magical powers. It was at the origins of human culture, and it is necessary to further any evolutionary advance of human beings. God damn it. Child, look, I cannot read that passage enough. She says in the very first chapter, all archaeological evidence points to the fact that the primary trigger of human evolution, the primary trigger, were two things. The evolutionary shift of the first females from the estrous cycle to the menstrual cycle, and the development of the human female clitoris. This is what prolonged sexual activity. This is what transformed human beings from having primate sex for the sole purpose of reproduction to elongated stints of love making with eye contact that sparked synaptic activity and electric activity in the brain, which gave rise to what we call the human consciousness. That came from your ability to reason, bitch, came because women developed clitorises. That's where it came from. That's not my opinion. That's what the archaeologists say. That's what the scientists say. That if it wasn't for us trans women, bodies evolving sexually first, there would be nothing that we recognize as human consciousness. That we'd be out here like primates. That it was the female human clitoris. The clitoris, which exists for one reason only, for female human sexual pleasure and exotic or sexual release. That's the only reason it exists. The clitoris as an organ only exists in one creature on the whole of the face of the motherfucking earth. As a matter of fact, let me pull out a book on y'all real quick. I didn't intend to, but let me do it anyway, since I'm called to. Where's my book at? Oh, here it is. Anybody read this book, Ocean Across the Waters? Anybody read that? Ocean Across the Waters, the Yoruba goddess in Africa and the Americas. This is the first thing I read when I read this book. I was just flipping through. Where is it? Where they talk about, I didn't mark it. Hold on, I'm gonna find it though. Oh, let's see. I might have to paraphrase if I can't find it right off top. Let's see. You know what? I do know where it is. Give me a second, because I'm about to blow. I'm about to blow it up. Here it is. Here's the book. Hold on, we'll have to go far. All right. So I took notes from the book years ago. This is one of my little makeshift grimoires, if you will. Let's see, Ocean Across the Waters. Notes from Ocean Across the Waters here. But this blew my mind when I first read it. Okay, notes from Oshun Across the Waters. Okay. Here it is. The Hidden Power of Woman. And this is from this book, Oshun Across the Waters. Egun, Eegun, this is a quote, by the way, refers to the concealed the concealed power of the ancestors. But many have a rich, but okay, Egun refers to the concealed power of the ancestors, but may have originally belonged to women. Egun is also used as a euphemism for the female genitalia called clitoris because they are hidden. The clitoris, in particular, is traditionally regarded as possessing concealed power which women can use to accomplish whatever they desire. And then I put the question in quotation marks, is this the basis and origin of the practice of female genital mutilation to destroy this power, this concealed hidden power peculiar to women? Did y'all hear me? Did y'all hear me? Okay, did y'all hear me? Egun, who we know in the tradition is the ancestors, right? But it wasn't until I read this book, Ocean Across the Water, surrounded by all these EPI practitioners, priests and priestesses, devotees and practitioners for 30, 40, 50 years. I ain't never heard it until I read this book, Ocean Across the Waters. Egun not only refers to the hidden powers, or the concealed powers of the ancestors, the collective concealed power of the ancestors, it is believed to have originally belonged to the hidden power of women concealed in a uterus. In their clitoris. And their clitorises giving them the ability. What they say right here? Giving them the ability to use to accomplish whatever they desire. So when I tell you scientifically, archaeologically, historically, and evolutionarily, that we couldn't even have this conversation, we couldn't even articulate these complicated ideas without first women's physical evolutionary processes transitioning them from the estrous cycle to the menstrual cycle, allowing them to have sex for reasons other than procreation, and the eventual evolution, emerging mysterious clitoris that gave such pleasure to the procreation copulation process that it said in the beginning of this book, what did it say? That with the clitoris and prolonged love-making sessions, and from rear sex having for primarily reproductive purposes to frontal love-making sessions, the quote was, man turned around. Wait, let me not misquote. It said, man turned around. Hold on, what's she saying? Because it's a powerful quote. True, this whole first chapter is a game changer. If you ain't read it, go back and listen to it on my YouTube channel. I can't find it right off jump. But essentially it says, with the advent of prolonged love-making sessions and us going from rear sex, primarily procreative sex during an estrous cycle, evolving from the estrous cycle to the menstrual cycle, the evolving clitoris, which provided for its sole purpose for existing, sexual pleasure and release, sexual stimulation and release, that the clitoris alone, baby, is the trigger for human evolution, period. And it says something to the effect of, in these prolonged lovemaking sessions, man turned around. Oh, I wish I could find this quote. Man turned around and shoot, where's this egg? Ooh. Human, let's see, it says here. As Thompson points out, listen to this. Such radical changes in the female body alone were enough to trigger the hominization of the species. Human beings with these changes became the only creatures on Earth for whom copulation occurs and can occur anytime for non-reproductive purposes. Human sex thus became a multi-purpose activity. It can happen for emotional bonding, for social bonding, for pleasure, for communication, for shelter and comfort, for personal release, for escape, as well as for reproduction of the species. And this is one of the original and major determining differences between humans and all other animals, birds, reptiles, insects, fishes, and worms, for whom copulation exists only and solely for species reproduction. The human race has been definitely shaped by evolution and revolution of the female body into the capacity for non-reproductive sex. This is not just a physical fact. It is a cultural, religious, political fact of primary significance. Many feminists today are unsure whether studies of evolutionary biology or the religious mythology can have political relevance for contemporary women. We believe that nothing could be more politically relevant than knowing why we got to where we are now by seeing how we got here and where we began. In the beginning, the first environment for all new life is female. The physical, emotional, spiritual body of the mother and the communal body of women, young girls, grown women, older women, working together. When hunting, gathering people move, the infant is carried bound close to the mother's body. When they settle, women form an inner circle campsite of women and children. The socialization process begins here. Human culture is marked by a strengthening and prolongation of the relation between mothers and offspring. For its first year, the human child is virtually an embryo outside the womb, extremely vulnerable and totally dependent, so on and so forth. But she goes on to say, all right, so that's fine. Anyway, I said that I was going to, and I'm not, because we're already at 48 minutes. Man, I'm telling you, this could be a whole, class. Peace, Boucher, what's up? This could be a whole 6-week workshop is what it could be. Because just when you think you've reached the end, which I thought I had, it just gets deeper. But it doesn't have to be so deep that we can't understand, y'all. Because at the end of the day, especially these discussions on like y'all have to go back. Because I can't reiterate this stuff enough. I go back. I love this book. The book is enormous. The book is a game changer. And I can't rely on my memory of the book. I go back and watch my videos reading The Great Cosmic Mother. So I don't have to sit there and reread the whole thing. I can be listening to the book while I'm cleaning my home or multitasking or whatever it is I'm doing. This book is the game changer. Why is it significant? Why is it relevant to be talking about the importance for all of us, not just women, not just uterus holding people? Why is it an important discussion for men to be involved in the mysteries and the secrets and the magic of menstrual blood and the blood of childbirthing? Why is it an important discussion for men to be involved in about the clitoris as the trigger organ that is responsible for the evolution of what we call human consciousness? And if, according to this, the human female clitoris is the trigger organ of the evolution of human consciousness, and I'm always always talking about how the Roman Catholic, not exclusively the Roman Catholic Church, because it really started before them. They're just the greatest personification of it now. But the rise of patriarchy in human history assaulted women's sexual autonomy first. First. That's why I can audaciously say that the savior of the human existence, of humanity itself, has to come under the leadership of women. And should nobody have a problem with that if you're serious about changing the world? If we can go back in every area of science, history, mythology, and we recognize all of them say the one thing that they can all agree on is women used to run shit way back when, and then just magically one day men ran shit. No, not magically men ran shit. Men evolved as a de-evolved as a tyrannical opposition to the magic of their mothers. They betrayed their mothers in the acquisition of power. They wanted to have the power that their mother had. And it became involved in every mythology tells us this. It's in our face, butt naked. Everything we do, everywhere we look, every movie we watch, we are looking at a retelling of the same story over and over. That period of time where the son, the S-O-N, rose up against his mother to usurp her power. And that was not enough. That eventually he had to murder his mother in order to absorb her power. That story, name a movie and I can tell you how that story is in. Name a movie and I can tell you how that story, that 6,000 fucking year old story exists in it right now. And our subconscious is constantly seeing this over and over and over again. Concretizing in our subconscious the justification of the mother, the murder of the mother, the further subjugation of the mother, as the patriarchy attempts to rescue itself and maintain hegemony over the lives of the rest of us. The mother's children is everywhere. It's everywhere. King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, that is the retelling of the story. What is it? The greatest story ever told, Jesus dying on the cross. That is a retelling of the story. The gods of Egypt is a retelling of the same story. The Eternals on the Disney Channel is a retelling of the story. Dragonheart, retelling of the story. Always ends with some singular crooked ass male having to murder the mother. Who is the mother? The dark, the female, the dragon, who is typically female. Ain't too many dragon movies you gonna watch where the dragon is not a female. Because the dragon is the symbol, the quintessential, universal symbol on earth of the great cosmic mother. The Leviathan in the Bible, that is the mother. It's everywhere. Winning men to participate in the ongoing aggression against women. Against those who are the personification of their mothers. You see. And so if I'm talking about here, evolutionarily, the clitoris is the trigger, the jump off point, the fucking lightning bolt that gave rise to human consciousness through pleasure. And patriarchy got its firm hold in the consciousness of the world through the retraction of pleasure from women. The retraction, the theft of autonomy for women, sexual autonomy, all serpentine symbology is the mother. Snakes, serpents, all serpentine energy is alluding to the great cosmic primordial black called the great cosmic mother. All of it. And so if we are to evolve, I do not make it difficult to understand. If we are going to set this shit off, And we know that the two primary factors for evolution and the de-evolution of the human experience, what is it that we live in? If it is not the collective de-evolution of human spirit and consciousness through the oppression of human flesh. That's what they did. That's what they did. Fucked your brain up to make your body ripe for exploitation. Made your heart forget that it is God, that you are God, so that God could be reduced to fucking numbers on an assembly line. You can't believe that the mother is God. You understand? Because if you believe that your mama was God, there ain't no fucking way in the world would look the way that it looks right now. There is no way. And so everything that we see has to be able to maintain this illusion in our mind that it's the Father God, aloof and off in the distance somewhere, who gives a fuck about us. And the only reason that shit is fucked up is because humans ain't shit. Because they mama filthy and cursed us all to damnation in the first place when she ate some mythological apple because the serpent told her so. You feel me? And I'm telling you, if we saying right now that the human clitoris was the quintessential lightning bolt that set this shit off, it is the complete, unadulterated, with the upholding of and participation in the reclaiming of total sexual autonomy and sovereignty for women that this shit will be made right. I'm just telling you what it is. Because these motherfuckers have spent 6,000 years making sure that women not only hate sex, hate their bodies, hate sexuality, have all kinds of malignant ideas about sexuality, hate when other women are sexually free. They have spent their entire career as patriarchy making sure to confuse the issue of human sexuality and the godlike pleasure that is supposed to come from it so that they could exploit the products of female human reproduction, which is her children. Y'all talking about the goddamn movie, The Matrix. We are the Matrix. The black uterus giving birth to all human beings who become the batteries for the fucking machine. That's what the Matrix is. It's not some fictitious shit over here in the distance somewhere. It's this. It's this shit right here. It's the Matrix mechanized by maniacs. So that which we produce is no longer God. It is cannon fodder for fucking warfare, cannon fodder for the worship of a goddamn war god, and numbers on a goddamn assembly line, and consumers for the perpetuation of both. That's it. That's it. And it is not into, listen, every person on this planet who has a gripe with patriarchy, every LGBTQIA plus person who is experiencing oppression in the different ways that is manifest, your salvation to rest in supporting and upholding the mother's resurrection. You cannot be opposed to the mother. You can't. And so I'm telling you, I try so hard to not be involved in these conversations because I believe in sovereignty. I believe that people who are LGBTQIA have a right to live on their own goddamn terms. But so much of what is coming out of that population is antagonistic towards women born female. And I'm telling you that we are biological creatures having a material biological experience on a living, breathing, conscious, sentient, biological planet. To abstract and dissect ourselves, mind from flesh, spirit from human experience, is a part of the patriarchal propaganda that got us in this shit in the first place. You have to side with the mother. You have to side with the mother. This is the black and white. This is the extreme in the poles. I say poles, not binaries. I'm not talking about binaries. I'm talking about poles, baby. I'm talking about the extreme pole, which is fuck the whole goddamn planet up, which is white and male, unbridled, unanchored, wild ass young, raging through like an uncontrolled fire all over the whole goddamn planet. And its opposite or opposing pole being black and female and earth and water and blood and bone. And all of you rest within, not in opposition to you. You exist within the poles that exist. I'm not talking about binaries, because I believe people got a right to exist on the terms that they set. That's my bottom line. I don't give a fuck who you are. There's gonna be some black nationalists that's mad about that, because y'all spend too much time. Y'all sound like fucking Christians. Y'all sound like fucking Republicans. Y'all sound like fucking white nationalists and shit. Y'all spend too much time condemning how people live, man. Y'all spend too much time condemning how people live. You can't have it both ways. You can't say you believe in human sovereignty, freedom, self-determination, all these little catchy phrases you throw the fuck around like you actually believe that shit, and then turn around at the same side of your mouth and talk about how you hate homosexuals, you hate trans people, you hate natives, you hate every motherfucking body. Then you can't believe in sovereignty. You cannot believe in human autonomy. You cannot believe, as far as I'm concerned, you can't believe in God. You cannot believe God exists. You can't. You can't have it both ways. You can't fence ride, motherfucker. You can't. But I'm telling y'all, all of y'all, black, white, red, brown, yellow, and all the races in between, LGBTQIA+, and heterosexuals and the like, y'all all exist because the mother said so. Because the mother said so. This ain't no father goddamn religion we talking about right here. The temple of evolutionary emergence, baby. The father was a son before he was ever a father. The mother has always been. We are not equals. We are not equals. But you shouldn't be mad about it, because your mama always wants you to be well. Your mother always wants you to be happy, blissful, joyful, protected, secure, fed, cared for, to the extent that she would let you swing off her motherfucking titties for 2 years just to ensure it's so. You understand? We done did the Father God worshiping shit. And I say Father God, I'm not just talking about fictitious Jesus neither. I'm talking about fucking white male dominated, white centered science that's always so sketchy, that can always create and produce the results it wants to benefit itself at others' expense. Talking about that as the Father God. Talking about white male dominated psychology, science of psychology, that always disproportionately pathologizes blackness, brownness, redness, yellowness, otherness. All of us, every time since its inception, all otherness is now psychological instead of spiritual, and anything outside of the white male norm is pathologized. Or y'all always experimenting on otherness as a way to unpathologize y'all pathologies and make everybody else crazy. That's Father God shit. The age of reason and logic is Father God shit. Because in the age of reason and logic, the only motherfuckers who were, quote, reasonable and logical were white male aristocrats and shit. I reject all of that shit. I reject all of it. Like I tell y'all all the time, take what you need from the shit and leave the rest in the garbage. All of that shit can catch the trash can. All of that shit can catch the garbage. We have to redefine all phenomena. And we have to do that just like they did it in the first place. We have to do it with us placed in the center. With us placed in the center. Not on top. Not some top-down hierarchical shit. That ain't what we talking about. The mother loves, or we would not be. The mother is giving, or we would not be. Any day now, she can say, you know what? Scratch this goddamn scientific project. These motherfuckers gotta go. These humans gotta go. They wrecking every goddamn thing. Can't no other species on the planet even sustain life while these motherfuckers exist. Any day now, she can be like, she can switch the light off on us. any day. But she doesn't. Because every time we look around, we see the evidence of her love. We see the evidence that she holds out hope that this was not a failed project on her part. She did this. Ain't no mythological he nowhere that gave rise to us. Human consciousness, as we understand it, is the byproduct of the biological evolutionary process that is embodied in female humans alone. It is we that gave birth to humans, and therefore human consciousness, human culture, everywhere the fuck on earth. That's the word. You want to save the goddamn planet? Make sure every time you have sex with a female, she is completely satisfied sexually. That's a good place to start. And she just said it. So much of what we call mental illness and premenstrual syndrome is because the taboos around blood is so fucked and so prolific. Women cannot even experience full, complete sexual gratification, especially during the time when it is most likely to happen, which is when they are bleeding, because the sexual taboos tell you, ooh, you can't have sex while you're on your period. It's right here. That women made insane by menstrual blood taboos cannot have the alone time that allow them to develop moon mind. What white, logical reasoners called mania, called craziness, called lunacy, this was the period of time. Her bleeding in unison with the dark phase of the moon. Being able to divine in this place. Being able to have enough quiet and stillness and still collective support from the community in this time so that the community could be fed spiritually by this relationship that she had to the moon. Where that at? Where they do that at? But y'all mad because Pope bitch is crazy. Y'all created this. Patriarchy created madness. That is sickness. Madness as sickness. Patriarchy created that. And then wooed males to be full participators in driving women mad, in breaking women's hearts. And we can't figure out why our uteruses and ovaries are eat the fuck up with tumors and cysts and rots of despair. Because our hearts are connected to our uterus. That's not my opinion. That is science. So a good place to start, it is not your only homework, is that if you are having sex with female people, never leave an encounter with a female who is not complete. You ask her, do you need anything else from me? Are you satisfied? Are you happy with even if it's a fucking one night stand, you filthy bastards? Even if it's a one night stand, are you good? Do you need, she probably won't even have to tell you. If you gave a fuck, you would know that she is good. She will tell you, oh my God, that was wonderful. Now you can leave. You understand what I'm saying? But motherfucker, you know when you ain't done right. You know. And that's why I keep telling y'all, I'm surprised LA ain't burnt to the fucking ground. I've never met more sexually unhappy human beings in my whole goddamn existence. I'm one of them. When is the 8th? The 8th is in 13 motherfucking days. Bitch, on the 8th, it will be a year since I have had sex. This is problematic. And it's y'all motherfucking fault. I can't take no risk having sex with nobody the fuck out here. When y'all all sorry. When y'all all show up sorry. This mine. This my energy. This my shit. This my magic. And if I choose to give that to you and you betray that, bitch, I'm likely to cut your motherfucking head off these days. Straight up. I'm likely to hurt you. Because it is an ultimate betrayal. These days, I see it as such a political issue. It's a political issue when men and others fail to show up for women sexually. That's the goddamn absolute least you can do. And so I was like, I can't take no risks because I ain't trying to go to prison for killing a bitch because he came out here and laid me lousy. I can't do it, so I just won't have sex. I just won't have sex. And that's where I'm at right now. And I haven't made up my mind when I'm going to take an opposing position. But for right now, I can't do it. I cannot do it. So I go dancing. I go dancing 3 days a week to make up for the frustration. You feel me? But let me tell you, I'm going to close this up because we're at about 5 minutes after 1. But I want to show you something. So I have a friend who is wonderful. She is on here as Gata. What's she on here as? Gata. The bureaucratic baddie. Gata. Gata. The bureaucratic baddie. And so we were having this conversation the other day about she has a line of clothing called Men Are Trash. And she got like booty shorts on that say men are trash. She got t-shirts that say men are trash. Like that's her thing, right? And so we were talking the other day and we were talking, something came up. We were like, yep, Jesus was trash too. And she was like, oh my God, that's going to be my next thing. That's going to be my next thing. So right before I got on the live, baby, let me show you what she brought me. And you can get yours today. So just inbox me or email me at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. Releaseheartcenter@gmail.com to get your sticker, the first sticker of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. Yes. Yeah. So I've got them in black, got them in this cute little iridescent blue. Jesus was trash too. Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. There you go. And the website is going to be up in a few days, so y'all be looking out for that. Jesus was trash too. Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. We got to get cute little blue. We got them in a plain blue. And they're bumper sticker safe, so you can put them on your car and they won't like peel. And then we got the green. I'm gonna have to cut the bottom off because the temple part kind of cut off. But we got them in green. It just won't say the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. So if you want a sticker, let me know. They're dope. I know. Yes, Letitia. Yes. We got to have this conversation. I'm going to give you my phone number. I'm going to send you an email with my phone number so we can have a conversation about getting you on here next week so I can interview you next week. We're going to have some great conversations with that one. Oh, what? With the, Kay, with the stickers? Is that the one you're talking about? We're going to have great conversations about the sticker? Is that what you're talking about? That? Now, she gave me another one. It's a bumper sticker. She gave it just to me. And it's funny that she gave this to me because we didn't talk about this. But like I said, her line is Men Are Trash. But I just read to y'all yesterday the origin of the word men, M-E-N, which means moon. And all of these ways that it has been hidden, right? This word men. Well, this bumper sticker says you can't spell disappointment without men. You see it? You can't spell disappointment without men. Y'all see it? I know y'all mad. Don't be mad. Because I don't hate men. I don't. If I hated men, I'd be on some straight bullshit really with the temple. You feel me? But I'm not. I'm trying to offer you motherfuckers redemption is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you to understand that the mother loves you and wants to offer you one last goddamn opportunity to redeem yourselves. Shit. You feel me? So when I speak harshly, say, oh my God, I'm so grateful that the goddess is giving me an opportunity to redeem myself. I'm so grateful that the goddess is teaching me what I need to do and how I need to show up to redeem myself. Because all men, every single solitary one has at some time, at some juncture, in some way, even gay ones, because they're the ones that'll swear that they are absolved from being patriarchal, misogynistic, megalo fucking maniacs who hate women, that do all the terrible shit. I met this guy just the other night at a bar with a homegirl, and she introduces him to me, and he's, flaming, if you will. And he's like, "Oh my God, girl, you're so cute. Look at your titties." And goes to like reach out and touch my titties. I'm like, whoa. I said, "No, baby, it ain't this type of party." Like, where they do that at? Where did it become? Do women do that? Do women just walk up to each other and be like, "Girl, your cleavage so cute, boom boom"? He reached out to touch, like, plump my. I was like, "No, motherfucker, it ain't that kind of party." But it's this way that in their minds. And this shit used to happen to me so much when I was younger. When I was like 17, 18, 19 years old, it was like all my gay friends were males, right? And I learned so much about the hatred of women in my relationships with gay men. But they feel like because they are marginalized too, that they can get away with, because I'm not interested in you. I'm trying to have sex with you, bitch. So they can say shit out their mouth. They can do shit that is still steeped in their hatred of fucking women, that disarms and confuses women. Child, I learned so much about the hatred of women from gay men. That shit's so insidious. Y'all all guilty. Every last single solitary one. I haven't met a man yet, not one, not nowhere, who in some place in his past he has not committed some transgression against a woman. Not one. Or they'll say, "Well, I used to be a dog." That's transgression. Where have you repented? Because if you ain't repented, that shit's still there. If you ain't made a confession, paid no restoration, that shit's still there. And you done contributed to some woman out the world becoming what y'all call a bitter ass bitch. Y'all did that. Y'all did that. Every woman y'all reduced to a crazy bitch, my crazy baby mama, y'all did that. She didn't emerge that way. You didn't find her that way. You didn't meet her that way. Y'all did that. Y'all did that. Now, eventually I'm going to have a conversation with y'all about the heart connection to the uterus and how it creates psychoses. Now, y'all know I practice traditional Chinese medicine. This is not a statement that I'm making in ambiguity. This is 6,000 years of philosophical history according to the system of medicine called Chinese medicine. How the connection between the uterus, the heart, and the mind can create psychoses. So stop fucking with women's hearts. Stop damaging their fucking uteruses. And maybe they won't be out here crazy, cutting your tires and breaking out your windows and shit. You can't figure out why. Because y'all motherfuckers act like y'all can't hear reasonable conversation until a bitch start punching y'all in the pockets. Then all of a sudden y'all can hear some shit. Well, she done told you 10,000 times before she done got to the point where she done broke your windows out your car, slashed your motherfucking tires. You understand? Yes, Ruby. Yes, that's a whole nother discussion. Oh my God. That's an aspect of it that eventually we have to get into. Letitia was mentioning yesterday how there are menstrual banks where you can take your menstrual blood. And where my daughter had her baby, it was in supposedly, like a natural birthing center in the hospital. Like the hospital is like trying to accommodate people who want to have like water births and stuff like that. They refused our request to take her placenta home. Like, bitch, y'all don't own that. Since when y'all own motherfucking body part? They refused. As a matter of fact, listen, this shit is getting deep. back in the day, if you got a tooth pulled at the dentist office, you could keep your tooth. You could take your tooth home. The last time I got a tooth pulled, it was like, I can't give you your tooth. That's unsanitary. The roots of the teeth have scores and scores of fucking stem cells. So now all of a sudden they could just tell you some bullshit and you can't take your own body parts home? Why? Especially the placenta. Especially the umbilical cord. Especially the amniotic fluid. They capture it. They keep it. You understand? We gonna listen. Y'all gonna have to start worshiping women. I think it was my homegirl Faith that was I'll tell y'all shit another day. Let me go. Because now I gotta go get pretty and try to go to this concert, even as I'm sleepy as hell and just want to curl up in my bed at 6 o'clock in the evening. So let me go try to make myself up and do something cute with myself and go on over to this show. Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. All these comments. Thank you so much. Yes. All the things. Yes. Stealing women's placentas. Yes. Men as the active participants in their role in patriarchy who purposely cause turmoil in the lives of women and then turn around and say, ain't that what every freaking YouTube channel run by a black man is about these days? Every single one. You understand? This shit is exhausting. And then the women that co-sign on that madness, that shit is equally exhausting. If you got any common sense, sister, stay off these niggas' pages. Stay off their shit. I get so tired of these dumb ass. Stay off their motherfucking shit. First of all, if they can't tell you this is my education, this is my background, this is the premise which I'm coming from, this is the damn research that I've done, these are the cited places that I have gotten these random ambiguous goddamn statistics from that tell women about how terrible and diabolical they are. Do not sit on the panel with ignorance. What did John Henry Clark say? John Henry Clark said, I only debate with my equals. Everybody else I teach. I don't debate no motherfucker. I do not argue with no motherfucker. I do not debate with no motherfucker. And even though I say an explicative every now and again, I want y'all to understand that if y'all need me to code switch, y'all need me to widen up my language and clean it up in order for you to receive what it is I am saying as valid and scientifically based and founded. You need me to point out and draw up the peer-reviewed articles that validate what it is I am saying in order for you to hear me, because I know how y'all be. Y'all be black people too. Don't want to hear nothing no intelligent black woman has to say, unless you can see her degrees. I might need to mount my damn degrees on the back wall so y'all know I'm not in here lying, because that's what y'all always assume, is that somebody black and female. Y'all give black men the benefit of the doubt all the time. But if you black and female, bitch, I need to see your credentials. I got credentials. I got 5 degrees. Many awards. If y'all need to see that in order for me to communicate to you, I have to do that. You know, I've gone to conferences at Yale and Harvard where, you know, my tattooed ass face, tattooed ass forearms, brands and shit, got the, you know, because can't nobody hear you unless you have a certain level of decorum and a certain level of, oh, that's a whole nother show I want to do. It's how as a woman, especially as a black woman, if you don't speak in a high-pitched voice, people can't really hear you, or all they hear is anger. Why are you talking so hard? Why are you talking so loud? Listen, I've debated back and forth for a long time about whether or not to clean my language up, to stop using the seasoning called colorful language, which I love so much. It's not because it's necessarily a habit. It is kind of a habit. but it is because it is a habit I love. I love cursing. But that's every Virgo I know. I ain't never met a Virgo who didn't cuss or didn't love it. Right? I love it. Not only that, I love everything rebellious. That's why I cuss. I know how to code switch. I mastered it. But I don't want to. I don't want to speak and I don't want to soften my voice. I don't want to speak in a higher voice that makes you more easy, feel easier in my presence. Because I feel like I'm a sweetheart. I feel like I'm the nicest motherfucker I know. I believe it. I believe that I go out and treat people exactly how I want to be treated because I love human beings. I like people. I got a lot of human equity out in the world. I done gone out of my comfort zone over and over and over again to establish relationships with people I don't know because I like people. Ain't too many people I meet I don't like. You understand? So if you know my heart, then it don't matter how much bass I have in my voice. It don't matter that I say motherfucker every now and again. It don't. It shouldn't. But y'all, listen, y'all stay stuck on stupid, this dumb shit out here, and that's cool. That's your business. But baby, I speak like a poet. I speak with flair, and I'm funny. I think I'm funny. You feel me? And so I'm done debating myself. Listen, let somebody from CNN or Fox News call me to interview me about why I say Jesus is trash too. And I'll be right up on there talking to them just like I talk to y'all. They can get it. They can get it. I stand by what I said. Jesus is trash, and let me give you all the historical evidence. If the motherfucker actually ever existed, which I doubt, he is the blueprint for gaslighting ass narcissist. He where they all learned it from. He had the greatest gaslight game on earth. So, you feel me? That's all the ranting I'm gonna do for today. I'm gonna go get pretty and go to this African concert, which I'm quite excited about. I love you all. Email me at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. You can see across the bottom of the screen. There are ways to make contributions to the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. We need these contributions because right now I'm paying out of pocket. The website should be up in a few days. And anyone that's like has any know-how on to get like seed funding for temples, for new religious organizations. We are a legitimate 501c3. So if you know anything about grant writing for 501c3s, yeah. So any information that you can provide, any way that you want to contribute, I still would be interested in somebody like, helping me with my social media, especially my TikTok. Oh, that's every time I think about it, it's just a pain in my brain thinking about my TikTok page. I recognize that I need it. I recognize I need to be posting on it more, but I'm not 16 years old, man. I ain't got all the time in the world to be just laid up on TikTok posting all the time. It takes enough out of me just doing one day. Once a day, the live that I'm doing. You feel me? So, yes. So thank you all for the comments. Letitia, we gonna talk soon. I'm gonna email you after this so we can I can give you my phone number. We can set up a time to do this interview with you, which I'm too excited about. Everybody else, thank you so much. If you need a reminder of the books that I read from, Oshun, Across the Waters, A Yoruba Goddess in Africa and the Americas, African Goddess Initiation by Abiola Abrams, Barbara Walker's Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets, Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets, Game Changer, and of course, Oh, and blood magic, and anthropology on menstruation. And lastly, my personal Bible, well marked up, just like the Bibles of podium beaten preachers, The Great Cosmic Mother Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth by Barbara Walker, illustrated by Monica Zhu. I would really encourage you guys to go back to the live read of that, which is chapter, it's called The Dark Moon and Moon Blood, chapter 31 through 33. I just listened to it again today, man. It's fire. It's fire. So, that being said, see you all tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence service. I'm going to start doing weekly services every Saturday at 11 a.m. Hopefully, fingers crossed, by next Saturday, I will have a location other than my home. My shrine is gorgeous, but I want to start having another location like we had before where people can come in the city um, um, and participate in the service, where we will again start having people come and perform. We will have, I had sound bath healers come, I had people come and perform their music. I had people who were artists in the city, like visual artists, like the one here who was responsible for doing an adaptation of the temple's logo, which, if you can see there, is the Ouroboros with the cosmic egg sigil. So that is the logo for the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. So we have displayed local artists. Those of you that are tuning in through IG, there's the logo there. So I like having the in-person services so we can fellowship and hang out and kick it and hopefully channel the mother. You feel me? So tomorrow it will be at my house, but cross your fingers. Next Saturday, I think we're going to have a location. Okay. With that being said, my name is Cassandra Faye Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. Have a spectacular night and an even better weekend. See you then. See you tomorrow.